What's going on? Welcome. I'm Chef Rouge, and today we are meal prepping. So, welcome to my kitchen. I am doing meal set number 4 from my plant-based meal prep course. If you want to prep along with us, the recipes are all in meal set number 4, and that is in my plant-based meal prep course. You can get the course on chefrouge.io, my website. But yeah, so today we're making a taco themed meal set. This is just one of my favorite dishes, is kind of the focus here, and that's my pepita and black bean tacos. So the taco filling we're going to use to make tacos. We're also going to make a taco salad, and then we will make a jackfruit carnitas, or no, not jackfruit carnitas, spicy jackfruit tortilla soup, and then rice and beans. So we're gonna get started, and yeah, I do these live streams every Sunday, and we cook some delicious plant-based food together. So I'm just gonna make a little post. I don't think that's going to be a thing. All right, so yeah, if you're just joining us, we are meal prepping today. I am doing a taco themed meal set. So yeah, we are prepping some tacos, a taco salad, jackfruit tortilla soup, which we're gonna get started right now, and then some rice and beans. So yeah, I'm just gonna make a little post on Instagram, and we will get started. So the base of our taco filling is pepitas. So I've got pepitas right here. We're gonna soak these with some hot water. I've also got some cashews for our roasted garlic cashew crema that we are going to make. And so we're gonna soak these in hot water, and then I've also got garlic that we're gonna roast. So I've got 4 bulbs of garlic. We're gonna stick these on a baking sheet. And we are gonna roast these in the oven at 375 degrees for 50, that's 50 minutes. You can also do 350 degrees for 1 hour. But this one, we're just going to do 375 for 50 minutes. And if you have larger bulbs of garlic, they might take a little bit longer. If you have smaller bulbs, they might be a little bit less time in the oven. All right, so yeah, got our water boiling. Our garlic is in the oven. All right. Okay. So I've got my knife. We are going to get started with chopping some onions. We've got our water is hot now, so we can go ahead and soak our pepitas, and cashews is what we're working with right here. Try to get this right. Sweet. All right, so we got our pepitas and cashews. I got some hot water. We are going to soak these. The pepitas are going to make our taco filling, and the cashews are going to make our roasted garlic cashew crema for our tacos and for our taco salad. All right. There we go. So yeah, we're just going to let these soak while we chop up our veggies. These off to the side. So the pepitas we're actually going to blend and make a cream, and then we're going to heat that and make essentially like a scramble, which by the end of when it's done cooking, it'll be more of a like a ground meat consistency. But we're going to get started with our taco filling and our soup. So for the taco filling, we are using an enameled cast iron pan. You can also use a nonstick pan. I generally try to avoid using nonstick pans because they tend to have weird chemicals in them. But actually, the recipe was originally developed using a nonstick pan, so it actually works best with a nonstick pan. But the enameled cast iron will work too. Cast iron will also work if it's well seasoned, but the pepita cream will stick to it quite a bit. So it's best if you have a nonstick pan or something that the pepita cream won't stick to as much. So we are going to chop some onions. And I'm just going to turn this pan on. We're going to start our taco filling. We'll get that going in here. Then we're going to make our tortilla soup. And I think I'm going to do the tortilla soup in a pressure cooker. I've got some black beans in there right now that I cooked this morning. The black beans we are going to use for the taco filling, and then we're also going to use some just season some and use them for the rice and beans. So I will need to move those beans out of the pressure cooker if I want to make the tortilla soup in there. All right, so for the onions, you want to just peel away any papery outer layers. And sometimes there's like a little funky thing. Part was a little funky, so I'm gonna take that whole layer off, but it looks good underneath that. So we're gonna chop this up. So just a little demonstration of the knife. Cool. All right, so for chopping an onion, we're gonna take our non-knife hand, just put that flat on there. We're gonna do just one horizontal cut. I'm gonna use my palm. We're gonna go about 4/5 of the way through the onion. You don't need to go all the way through. You want to keep the back intact, but you just want to go about 4/5 of the way through, like this. Oops. But you don't want to cut all the way through. And then you want to do some vertical slits. And then that way the onion kind of dices itself when you get to this stage. And then if this part, you have this hard part on there, you just want to avoid that. So we're just going to slice around that. All right. And then this one's already got the horizontal slit, so we're going to do the vertical one. or ones, I should say. All right, so we got that diced. Got our pan heating up right here. And we can just go and stick that right in our pan. A little bit out. All right, we're gonna heat the pan over medium heat. It's really not very hot yet. It is a pretty thick pan. And then we're just gonna add a little bit of light olive oil. Go. And we're just gonna chop some more onion while our pan is heating up. So we need onion for our black beans and our rice, as well as the tortilla soup. And then I'm gonna pickle some onions as well with some habanero to make spicy pickled onions. So those are just a delicious condiment, just addition to both the taco salad and the tacos. Just chopping our onions. All right, we'll just stick these in a bowl. Oops, that was the bottom. So I'm just going to go ahead and chop all the onions that we need. So this dish could actually use a little bit more onion too, so I think I'll add some more to that. And then we're also making some salsa, which we will need some onions for. Probably about a half of an onion. But we're going to do that in a blender, so that doesn't need to be chopped up super fine. And these onions, we don't want them to burn, we just want them to soften up. Also just put a top on the pan to help them steam and soften a little quicker. And then trapping the water helps prevent them from burning as well. All right, so we'll do a little bit more onion in here. And the rest in here. All right, so yeah, we are making tacos. So this is our taco filling. We're going to use the taco filling for Pepita and black bean tacos, and then we're making a taco salad as well. So we're going to use the filling for 2 different things. Let's see, we'll grab 1 more onion. This one looks like it might be kind of funky. We'll see. Yeah, this onion's kind of funky. And then this one was questionable as well. Oh, no, this one's good. One spot. All right, so I like to chop the top and the bottom off of the onion, and then I like to chop it in half. And then I'll peel the papery layer of skin off, and then if there's anything funky on the next layer, I'll just go ahead and peel that off too. All right. And I'm just going to go ahead and chop these. So we'll do a vertical slit. We're cutting about 4/5 of the way through the onion. And then some vertical slits. I meant horizontal before. And then just going to chop it like this. And it kind of dices itself. All right. Get this a little stir. Getting a little bit of browning on the onions. We don't really want them to brown too much at this point. We just want them to soften. I'm going to put a tiny bit of water in the pan. And then stick the lid on it. That'll keep the steam in there, and then that'll steam the onions so they cook a little bit quicker, and then also prevent them from burning. All right, so we got our horizontal slit in there already. All right, plenty of onions. Okay, so this is for our taco filling. Next, we're gonna do our jackfruit tortilla soup. So we're gonna cook both of those at the same time. And we're doing just a meal set. So we've got essentially 4 different meals that we're making. And I've got black beans in my pressure cooker that I just cooked with a tiny bit of seasoning. And this was just 2.5 cups of black beans that I cooked with 4 cups of water. And I soaked these for, I think, about 6 hours. I usually do 8 to 10 hours, but I forgot to soak them last night, so I soaked them this morning. All right. Just gonna grab a bowl. I'm gonna go ahead and transfer these to a bowl. We're gonna use the Instant Pot here to make our jackfruit tortilla soup. I'm just gonna rinse this real quick. All right. So this jackfruit tortilla soup recipe is pretty simple. All right, I'm gonna turn the heat down a little bit on this guy. We got our onions. They're kind of starting to brown a little bit. We don't really want them to brown too much at this point. All right, yeah, we can look straight in here. Okay, so here we've got our Instant Pot. We're gonna stick this on the soup setting. And let that come up to temperature. So the jackfruit tortilla soup is pretty simple. We're gonna saute some onions and then we're gonna add some carrots and red bell pepper, celery, mushroom. I guess we've got all our ingredients over here. So we need to chop our ingredients. So we're gonna do that now. We got our red bell pepper, got our mushroom, we've got our celery. We're gonna chop all of these. Got some parsley as well, and then cauliflower and jalapenos. So yeah, we've got all types of awesome ingredients that we are going to chop up right now. What have I done? Okay, so yeah, here's our beautiful purple cauliflower. Got our mushroom powder, that is for our pepita and black bean tacos. So it's like our pan is hot. We're going to go ahead and start this for our jackfruit tortilla soup. We're going to add about an onion, maybe about 2 cups of onion. There we go. And again, we're going to add a little bit of just light olive oil so this can saute. We're going to chop up our bell pepper. Not a good idea. All right, so our onions got a little toasty, so I just added a little water in there to prevent them from burning. All right, we're gonna chop our red bell pepper and our celery. So the red bell pepper, we're just cutting the sides off. You want to essentially remove the seeds and the pith, this white stuff. In bell peppers, it's not spicy, but in other peppers, the seeds and the pith are where most of the spice is. So, as you'll see with the jalapeno, if you want to keep the spice in there, you just want to leave the seeds in there. But yeah, if you don't want all that spice, you're going to want to remove it. So this you want to slice with the skin side down. If you slice it with the skin up, it kind of puts pressure on your knife and it can kind of jump, and just it's a little bit less safe to cut it that way. But if you cut it with the skin side down, it's just easier to cut. Your knife will go right through it, and you won't have to worry about it jumping around. All right. Slice these. So we've got our taco filling right here. We've also got our tortilla soup that we're making. And these we're just kind of dicing. More for flavor, not really adding texture with this. So we're just going to cut it up real small. Gonna add some to our tortilla soup. All right. So now we're going to cut up some celery just for this tortilla soup. Slice off the ends. With hard vegetables like celery and carrots, you want to put them in pretty early if you want them to get really soft. Celery, I find, just is kind of unpleasant unless it's like super thoroughly cooked, but more of a personal preference thing. But if you're putting celery in a dish, I generally try to put it in pretty early, unless you want the crunch and the texture to kind of remain. All right, so we got our celery chopped up. We are going to slice our jalapeno. And so again, if you want it to be super spicy, you can leave the seeds in. If you don't want it to be super spicy, you can leave it out. We're going to add a little bit of it, but not from all the peppers. I also have some red jalapenos around here somewhere that we're going to use. Red jalapenos are essentially just more mature, and they are more spicy than the green jalapenos. Although the green jalapenos tend to have more seeds, at least from what I've seen. All right, so we're going to go in here. All right, so here's our taco filling, and here's our tortilla soup. So the onions are softened. We're still waiting for the onions to soften a bit. And we just got this one on a lower temperature just so that it doesn't cook too much, just so the onions don't burn. But this one, essentially we're ready for spices, and then we can turn up the heat and then add some Pepita cream. The Pepita cream is essentially just pumpkin seeds that we have soaked, and we will blend with water. We're going to cook that, and then we're going to add some black beans to it. So I've got some carrots. These ones are already peeled and chopped. So this is going to go into our tortilla soup. If you wanted to add vegetables to the taco filling, you totally could. But I am just going to keep it to just the onions and peppers, and then the pumpkin seeds and black beans. All right, so we're going to chop this up. This is going to go in our soup. And we still haven't yet added seasonings. Oh, wow. There's an herb for that. What's going on? I'm so glad you could join us. Yeah. And I'm super excited that you're making this. That's so cool. I love this recipe. I make it a lot. So if you have any questions, definitely let me know. But I'm gonna go through it here in just a second. Just gonna peel this carrot. All right. Oh, nice. Yeah, the Pepita cheese is an awesome one. Yeah, if you roast the onions in the oven, it adds a ton of flavor. Onion powder also works. So we just are gonna add this carrot to our soup. For the tortilla soup, you can kind of add whatever veggies you want. I'm adding this carrot and the bell pepper and the purple cauliflower. I'm gonna add some broccoli a bit later. And then I have some spicy peppers. We're making spicy tortilla soup, so I think I'm gonna throw a habanero in there. And then we've also got the jalapenos. I'm gonna throw some of the seeds in there as well. All right. So this mushroom is for flavor. I probably actually should have put it in with the onions because you really want it to cook, and you don't really want it to add mushroom texture. So you just want to make sure this gets put on the bottom of the pan and sautéed in the oil pretty thoroughly before you add the liquid. You really want this to kind of crisp up even and really cook in the oil just with just the oil and no moisture, just because it really adds a nice flavor, but you don't want like chewy mushroom in the soup. So I will show you what we're gonna do to achieve that. So I'm gonna show you just in the Instant Pot. This is the jackfruit tortilla soup that we're making. We're gonna scoop this. Well, first I'm gonna mix it. Sorry if the steam is a little intense. All right. So we're gonna scoop this off to the side. There we go. It's a lot of scooping, I know. All right, and then I'm gonna take all of this mushroom. We're gonna put this right on the bottom of the pan. And then we're gonna spray it with a little bit of oil. I have this super nifty oil sprayer over here. That you just kind of press this lever and it sprays oil in there. So we're gonna spray that directly on the mushrooms. And that's gonna allow them to fry a little bit. And that just like dry heat with the oil is gonna help them just get super flavorful and then kind of crisp a little bit. And then when the water or the broth gets put in, it's not gonna make them super chewy and rubbery and like squishy. So you really gotta cook them in the oil separately before you add like veggies on top of them or the broth. So I've got these off to the side. As you can see, they're just kind of frying in the oil, just off to the side. So, and then we've got our taco filling right here. So for the taco filling, I still need to add the seasonings actually to both of these, but for the taco filling, I need to blend the pumpkin seeds. So I've got the pumpkin seeds that I've soaked, and I just did these in hot water. I have the pre-sprouted pumpkin seeds, the Go Raw ones. So these have already been soaked and sprouted. So I just soak these in hot water and then rinse them and blend them. So we're going to do that in just a minute. And that's going to go in here. I'm going to put the seasonings in here first, in the taco filling and the jackfruit tortilla soup. One of the reasons I like to do these at the same time is the seasoning is essentially the same for both recipes. So for the taco filling and the jackfruit tortilla soup, we're using cumin, coriander, thyme, oregano, onion powder, garlic powder, chipotle powder. Yeah, I think I'll put that in both of them. And then if you have like ancho chili powder or something like that, you can use that. I've just got a bunch of spicy peppers, so I'm not going to put any spicy pepper powder in there. But it's kind of up to you. I mean, I guess I am adding chipotle, but that's more for the smokiness than the spice. So I will show you kind of my secret technique. That's really not a secret because I show everybody, but it is what I use. So we've got both of these pans. One is the jackfruit tortilla soup, and then one is the taco filling. So we'll start with our cumin. We're going to do 1 teaspoon in the tortilla soup. We'll say a little heaping teaspoon. And with the cumin, I like to get that right on the bottom of the pan. For the taco filling, we're basically going to do a tablespoon. So we're going to do 3 teaspoons. There is a lot of stuff going in here, so it needs a lot of flavor. And then coriander, we'll essentially do a teaspoon in here. We need a couple teaspoons in here, so that was about 1. Then we're going to add a second one. And so my taco seasoning mix is cumin, coriander, oregano, thyme, onion powder, garlic powder, and then some sort of chili powder. But yeah, oregano is a pretty important one. All right, so if you want to look in here, our mushrooms are pretty nice and toasted. You see they've got some nice brown color on them. So now we can go ahead and move them. You really want to let them get that toasted before you add any liquid, just because it is going to make the texture a lot better. You just don't want kind of squishy, chewy, rubbery mushrooms in your soup. You don't really want to even know that there's mushrooms in there. You just want the flavor. So we're going to do oregano. We'll do 2 teaspoons in here. 1 teaspoon in here. We're going to do thyme. Again, we're going to do 2 teaspoons in the taco filling. And then 1 teaspoon in the jackfruit tortilla soup. And then chipotle. So for the herbs and the chipotle powder, the onion powder, garlic powder, you don't really need to cook those on the bottom of the pan like you do the the cumin and the coriander. Chipotle is already smoked, so it's technically already cooked. And then the herbs, I mean, they will get a little more flavorful if you toast them, but you don't really want to burn them. So yeah, those, and then the onion, same with the onion and garlic powder. The onion powder, actually, if you toast it a little bit, it's probably a good thing, but the garlic powder, you really just want to make sure it doesn't burn. So onion powder. And then onion powder is just one of those things that if you add a ton of it, it'll just add a ton of flavor. So you just want to make sure you add it early and not like towards the end of the cooking time, because you just don't want it to be uncooked. And then garlic powder. Oh, that's onion. And we're also adding roasted garlic in here, so we don't need a ton of garlic powder. But that's pretty much it. Yeah, and then the rest of the flavor comes from the onion, the garlic, and the chilies. So we've got jalapeno. I'm gonna add some more jalapeno. The tortilla soup, I'm making spicy jackfruit tortilla soup, so I'm adding jalapenos with the seeds, and then I'm also gonna add some habanero. So I'm gonna chop those right now, and then we're gonna mix all this, and then I'm gonna blend um, the Pepita cream for the taco filling. But yeah, this is a red habanero, habanero, as I like to say. Um, and so yeah, when you're cutting habaneros, you want to make sure you don't touch the pith or the seeds, and then touch your face or anything. So wearing gloves is a good idea, or just be very careful. So we're gonna chop this up now. We're gonna get this in the pan with this guy. Actually, no, we're gonna do this guy first. So for the jackfruit tortilla soup, I like to do slices of jalapeno with the seeds. We're doing spicy jackfruit tortilla soup. So anytime you get one of those slices with the seeds, it's just like pretty spicy and adds a really nice flavor. And then to also amp up the spice, we're going to use this red habanero, this habanero pepper. We're going to avoid the seeds and the pith on this one. So we're just going to kind of slice around the seeds and the pith in the middle. And then we're also going to use one of these to make spicy onions in a little bit. But yeah, this is where most of the spice is. So if you want it to be super spicy, you can go ahead and throw that in. Otherwise, you're going to want to avoid that. Kind of like reluctant to even touch this with my hands, but it'll be fine. All right, so we got those in strips. We're just going to kind of dice them. And then this is going to go in the jackfruit tortilla soup. It looks like we got a couple seeds to go with it. Those might be, I think those are jalapeno seeds though. So right, not too spicy. All right, I'm just gonna go rinse my hands just so I don't touch my face or something and then burn my skin and have a bad time. So, all right, our jackfruit tortilla soup. We're gonna do the what's it called? Cauliflower next. Then we can add the jackfruit and add the liquid. Then I'll go ahead and blend the pepitas for the taco filling. So I'm just going to chop this up. We'll take a look in here. See our beautiful jackfruit tortilla soup is looking very nice and flavorful. I just got this Instant Pot on the soup setting. You can see got all nice veggies in there. One other great ingredient for this is corn. It's really nice if you eat corn. All right, I'm gonna add some water so this doesn't burn. Sorry, a little dark, but yeah, if you notice, if you put garlic powder in a pan with a bunch of wet stuff, it will get all clumpy. All right. So yeah, this is looking great. We can add our jackfruit. I think I want to add a potato to that actually. So let me go ahead and chop up a potato to put in there. There we go. All right. So I'm just going to be kind of lazy, and instead of peeling this, I'm going to just cut the sides off. This kind of makes it a little bit more square, so you can chop little cubes. I'm not going to cut all the skin off just because there's good nutrition in there. But we're just going to chop these into little cubes for our soup. Make a little rectangle. Then we'll cut that into quarters. And then cut those strips into cubes. Drop that into our tortilla soup. Then we're going to add our cauliflower. I think I might add some of this into the rice as well, which I know is not traditional, but I've got a bunch of beautiful purple cauliflower. It's on sale or actually no, it's not on sale, but they have it at PCC right now. I just picked this up today and it is delicious. I also cooked with some this week. I made some curry and a few dishes. I think a soup and a pasta actually with purple cauliflower this week. So, all right, getting a little toasty. Just gonna turn this pan off. We're gonna add a little bit more water. Just make sure this doesn't burn. If you ever sauteing stuff and your pan gets a little too hot, you can just add a little bit of water and that will kind of take the temperature down. We're just gonna finish cutting this. Put these in the pot. All right. So that is good. All right, and then last thing for our jackfruit tortilla soup before we add the jackfruit is these are Jimmy Nardello peppers. They taste really good. They tend to have a lot of seeds in them, so you can kind of slice rings until you get to the seeds. And then once you start getting a bunch of seeds, I'm going to sharpen my knife. You'll kind of want to cut around the seeds, but these peppers just are super flavorful. It tastes really good. We're going to add some to our salad as well. The only kind of annoying thing about these is they have a ton of seeds, which are just not very pleasant to eat. So I want to kind of avoid them. Because once you got it open, you're going to scrape them out. All right, so here we go. All right, so we're going to put this in our soup. We got our soup all nice and beautiful right here. We'll mix this. I've got some homemade vegetable broth, actually mushroom vegetable broth that we're going to use for this. And then I've also got some canned jackfruit. So this is what we're going to use. This is just young jackfruit in brine. So we are going to rinse this. So you just open the can. So it comes in this brine. It's just these little kind of meaty chunks. I'm going to put this just over the sink. And just empty it into a strainer. And then just rinse it real quick. Because of the brine, it ends up being pretty acidic, so I find it's nice to rinse it And then you just kind of want to squeeze the water out. But yeah, let's take a look at it over here. There we go. All right, so here's the jackfruit that we rinsed. At this point, we just want to break it up into little chunks. You can also just chop it up with your knife, but you just want to break the pieces up. This is often used as a meat replacement in plant-based cooking. I find it's pretty acidic, so you really have to balance out the acidity, or just like boil it to remove the acidity. And there's not really a lot of protein, so unless you add protein to it, I think it's kind of questionable as a meat replacement. But you just want to break up the pieces. There's usually pretty large chunks, and so you just want to break these up. You know the restaurant that you're at doesn't care about plant-based options if they give you a dish that's just like big chunks of jackfruit that they haven't done anything with. Because it's not very pleasant to eat unless you like really do stuff with it. Like, you really got to transform it. But texture-wise, it kind of looks and feels a bit like pulled chicken or pulled pork. It's just, it doesn't have the meatiness, so you kind of have to add the meatiness. All right, so here we go. Here's our shredded jackfruit. So this is going to go into our soup. All right. So here's our soup. Going to add our jackfruit. We will mix this up. It's like our garlic is done. So here we've got our jackfruit tortilla soup. Spicy jackfruit tortilla soup. And now we can add our vegetable broth. So I've got some awesome homemade vegetable mushroom broth that we're just going to pour in there. So that was 4 cups. And I'm going to add 2 more cups. It looks like this would be a pretty thick soup right now if you just wanted to end at 4 cups or stop with 4 cups. I'm going to add 2 more cups of vegetable broth because I'm also adding broccoli to this, but we're going to add the broccoli after it's cooked, because if you add it before it's cooked, it just turns brown and gets super mushy. So if you want to keep your broccoli vibrantly green and not mushy, you'll want to add it after you simmer or after you pressure cook, like we are going to do in this case. All right, so I'm going to put our top on here. And really, any other vegetables you want to add in here, that is totally up to you. Or yeah, anything else you want to put in your tortilla soup, that is up to you. But pretty simple. The recipe is in the recipe packet for meal set number 4 in my meal prep course. Yeah, if you haven't signed up for my meal prep course, it is $99 for the rest of the month. So that's until Tuesday, October 1st. So yeah, if you want to get recipes like this where we've got the meal sets kind of planned out and all the planning done for you, you can get the meal set fundamentals course on chefrouge.io. Yeah, the link's in the chat or in the description. So you want to peep that. But our vegetable broth has been added. We got the top on our Instant Pot. And slide that out of the way. We've got our taco filling ready for our Pepita cream. So I'm just going to go ahead and mix this. So all our seasonings are in here. Everything is essentially ready for the Pepita cream. We're going to add that in here. That's going to cook for about 10 minutes, and then we're going to add our black beans. And then our roasted garlic is also ready. Done roasting, which we have right here. So this was just garlic that I roasted in the oven at 375 degrees for, looks like I did about 52 minutes, 53 minutes. So yeah, 50 minutes at 375 is what you're going for with these. The smaller ones probably could have done like 40 minutes on those just because they're so small. But yeah, these ones are nice and fully roasted, so what you got to do. And then we're just going to let these cool, and then we'll slice them open and add them to our dishes. We actually want to add some to the tortilla soup before it comes to pressure. So I'm going to go ahead and rinse this, and then we're going to slice it and add it to our tortilla soup. So we're going to rinse it in, dropped it. We're going to rinse it in cold water just for like 30 seconds. It's going to help cool it down a little bit. And then you also want to rinse it to prevent the skin of the garlic from flaking. So yeah, it's rinsed. It's still going to be super hot. So you just want to be careful. Oops, excuse me. Probably want to see this. Yeah, so here's our garlic bulb that we roasted and rinsed. We're going to slice it with our knife. You don't want to press too hard. You just want to let the knife do the work and let the weight of the knife do the cutting. And then when you got it sliced open, you can just squeeze all the garlic out all at once. It's so much easier. So we are going to squeeze that into our tortilla soup. And it's going to be delicious. All right, so we got that in the soup. Use this. It's going to go in the taco filling. This is the bottom. So yeah, you want to squeeze out the top and the bottom. With the bottom, you just want to make sure that none of the skin goes with it, because sometimes it kind of will squeeze out with the garlic. And it's very hot, so if you squeeze it out onto your fingers, it will probably burn you. That's why you want to let it cool if you have the time. All right, so I'm going to turn our pan back on. So I turned this off just so it didn't burn. We're going to turn it up. I'm going to put it on 3. And then we need to blend our Pepita cream. So we can do that now. The Pepita cream is just pepitas, which are pumpkin seeds without the shell, that we're going to blend with water. All right, so I've got my handy dandy Vitamix. That's just going to plug in right here. Oh gosh. Gonna be okay. All right. We'll move this cutting board temporarily. Okay. Perfect. All right, so I got my handy dandy Vitamix. I'm gonna add some pumpkin seeds to the pitcher. So we've got our pumpkin seeds that we soaked. We are gonna rinse these over at the sink. So this is 3 cups of pepitas, aka pumpkin seeds. These are sprouted and they are organic. I buy these at Costco. You can get 22 ounces for $10. Which I think works out to like $8 a pound, or yeah, it's like $7 and something a pound, which is a very good price, especially for the sprouted ones, and they're organic. You can find organic pumpkin seeds sometimes at local grocery stores for like $6 to $8 a pound, but it really kind of depends and varies per store. And you want to soak these. If they're already pre-sprouted, you can just soak them in hot water. But if they're not sprouted, you'll want to soak them in room temperature water for about 8 to 10 hours if you have the time. And that will pull out some of the tannins, which are enzyme inhibitors, and essentially prevent you from digesting the pumpkin seeds as well as you do as if you soak them. So soaking them essentially makes them more digestive friendly and helps prevent them from causing inflammation, and you absorb the nutrients more. So I always soak these. I soak them in filtered water. I'm just big on filtering my water, but it's kind of a personal thing. And whatever works for you is awesome too. So I've got my pepitas in here. We're adding water. So 3 cups of pepitas. We're going to add about 2.5 cups of water. Really, we're going to add as little water as we can to get this to blend, because once we start cooking the taco filling, the goal is to reduce the moisture as much as possible. So the less moisture you start with, the less you have to reduce. So it's just lower cooking time. But you just want the pepitas to get fully blended. So that is the big thing. So if you have to use more water, especially if you don't have a high powered blender, that's totally fine. You just have to cook it a little bit longer. So we're gonna blend this on low, turn it up to high. But yeah, this is the pepita cream. So we've just got the soaked pepitas that we rinsed, and I put more filtered water in here, and now we're gonna blend it. So here we go. Oh. The plunger also comes in handy and really helps with blending. The Vitamix a lot of times gets a bubble stuck in the pitcher as it's blending, and so if you turn the speed back down, that bubble will kind of come to the top, and then you can blend it again. So you just have to turn the speed up and down. And this is about blended. You want it to be pretty thoroughly blended and smooth. Oh, looks like I just blew a fuse. It's okay, we are done. And it looks like the soup needs some more cooking, so I'm gonna go have to flip that switch in a little bit. But yeah, so the pepita cream is nice and smooth. You don't need it totally smooth, but you just don't want like chunks in there. You don't want even little chunks. You want it very smoothly blended. And then once this is blended and very smooth, we're gonna put it in our pan with our veggies and stuff and onions that we're already sauteing. So these we sauteed at the same time as the jackfruit tortilla soup, which we have in the pressure cooker right here. And these are essentially fully softened. And now we're going to add our pita cream in here. We've also added our taco seasonings in here. I think the only thing we need to add is the mushroom powder to add umami and color. And so if you've noticed, I've scraped all of the veggies and like seasonings off to the side. I want to make sure that's off the bottom of the pan. We're gonna add oil, and we kind of want to get this pan as hot as possible before we add the pepita cream, because we really want it to cook. And I'm gonna spray this a little bit, a little handy dandy oil sprayer. So yeah, so you see that this is exactly what we want. We want this oil to get hot and just be ready for this pepita cream to hit this pan. We want to get this pan as hot as we can. And then so we're going to add this, and it's going to kind of scramble, kind of like eggs. Or similar to like if you're making ricotta or tofu, this cream is essentially going to start bubbling and cooking, and then it'll form curds and chunks. And then it will be this lovely taco filling. So this is one of my all-time favorite dishes, and one that I have totally developed from scratch. It was originally inspired by Kite Hill ricotta, and there's a company called The Better Bean that makes black beans. And originally, when I was making this recipe, I was using Kite Hill ricotta that I would kind of make into a taco meat replacement, and then I would add the Better Bean, like pre-seasoned black beans, and then make tacos out of it. And it was pretty good, but I think this version is much better. So it has evolved quite a bit over the years. It was hemp and black bean after the Kite Hill. I found hemp seeds work really well, and have the same property as pumpkin seeds, that it forms curds when you make a cream like this and then eat it. So you can also use hemp seeds for this recipe if you prefer. There's probably other seeds or nuts you could use. But pumpkin seeds and hemp seeds are the best ones that I've found by far. All right, so we got that in here. So we let that just kind of cook a little bit, and now we're going to scrape it. And if you look, you can see it's really like kind of started to form this like foamy kind of paste. And it's like basically the curds are forming. So if you scrape it up, if you kind of get these like, it's forming into little chunks. So right now, if you look at it, you're kind of just like, well, it's a bunch of goo in a pan. I don't see how this is going to be taco meat. But as it cooks and as this heats, it'll form these little chunks and curds. And then we're going to add some mushroom powder to make it brown. And then it'll start to look more like taco meat. And so if you notice, I have a really wide pan for this, and it's actually very helpful to get as much surface area as possible. So I really like to use as wide a pan as possible. And then this is the enameled cast iron, and it does work better in a nonstick, but enameled cast iron is probably the best you can get without using like a chemical like nonstick pan. So you just want to keep moving it, keep scraping it. Ideally, you want to scrape it off of the bottom, and that's why a nonstick pan works the best. Because if it sticks to the bottom, then everything on top of it just kind of steams and doesn't really cook properly. So you really have to do your best to try to scrape the bottom of the pan, or scrape the filling off of the bottom of the pan without actually scraping the pan. So now we're going to mix everything. We're going to go ahead and add our mushroom powder as well. So we'll mix this. And if you end up with a pan where it's completely stuck to the bottom like this, like it is over here, if you just move the filling over to there and then turn the heat down, the moisture from the filling will kind of start to steam what's stuck to the pan. And then you can just come back in a few minutes and scrape it. All right, I just realized I forgot to add salt to the tortilla soup, so we're gonna have to add that when it's done pressure cooking. And we have not added salt to this either, or the lemon or lime juice. So we're just gonna mix this. I'm gonna go back. So yeah, our taco filling. Now we are essentially at this point we're just evaporating the moisture. And then we really want to let to scrape it off of the bottom of the pan if possible. So actually when you add the lemon juice, you can kind of move the stuff off to the side and then just put the lemon juice directly on the bottom of the pan. And that will kind of loosen it up and deglaze a little bit. But yeah, if you're using an enameled cast iron, it's kind of best to use like a wooden spatula that you can use to kind of scrape the bottom of the pan without like actually like scraping the pan in a bad way. So, all right. So yeah, so this is, we're just evaporating the moisture and kind of mixing all this. We're gonna go ahead and add our salt. Just gonna grab this guy. I can use the measuring cup. All right. So yeah, so I also teach cooking classes at a preschool in Seattle called Our Beginning. I actually used to be the chef there, and I helped them transition to a whole foods plant-based food program back in 2019. And it's a pretty awesome place. But yeah, I really love teaching classes really to everybody. I mean, I just love people in general, but yeah, teaching kids is just so cool. And if you get kids excited about healthy food early on, they just like don't even question it. Like they're just like, yeah, this is what we eat, you know, and they love it. Yeah. So like we made fried rice on Friday, and it was super fun. Like the kids loved it. Fried rice is super quick and fun to make, and it's like, you know, you can keep their attention the whole time. So it literally takes like 10 minutes. Well, assuming you already have the rice cooked, and I already had the veggies. Actually, no, I didn't even have them chopped. We chopped them together in class, and then cooked the rice, made the fried rice, and then the kiddos ate it. Like most of them, like ate all of it. A lot of them, or you know, some of them, just it wasn't really their thing, so they had a few bites and then tossed it. But yeah, I mean that's kind of how it goes with cooking class. And you know, some of them might not be hungry, but yeah, if you just like, I guess part of my food philosophy is that if you just give people really delicious food, then they don't really question if it's healthy or not. And you know, I mean, unless it's like super not healthy and you're just like, oh, I don't want to eat this. But if you give people healthy food that happens to be super delicious, then they'll just eat it and they'll be like, oh, this is great, you know, thank you. So yeah, so I mean, that's kind of what I like to do with food, and that's how I like to plan recipes. So the idea is that you don't feel like you're like trying to eat healthy or like you're sacrificing anything. So I think, yeah, I think if more people really approach food like this is super nutritious and we have like the best ingredients, and then how can I make this as delicious as possible? I think like much more people would eat healthy because you really can make healthy food taste at least as delicious as unhealthy food. Um, and I really feel like your system, like your body knows the difference. So it's like the more healthy food you eat, the more you start to crave healthy food because there's more than just taste involved. All right, so I'm going to show you this. I turned the temperature down so that we could kind of start scraping it off the bottom, and it is totally working. So we're getting back to the actual bottom of the pan, and then we're going to turn the heat back up. And so as you can kind of see, this is starting to look more like a ground meat than goo, but it is still pretty gooey, and it's still pretty green from the pumpkin seeds. So we're going to add this mushroom powder. I normally use chaga mushroom powder because it's a little bit darker, and chaga also has a bunch of health benefits, but reishi is another great superfood mushroom that is super healthy, has a bunch of health benefits, and then also adds a lot of really good umami flavor. So it just kind of enhances the meatiness and the nutrition. And pumpkin seeds are already super nutritious, but if you can enhance it in nutrition even more, why not? And it also tends to make the color look a little bit more meaty. And makes it taste a bit more meaty too. So the winner all around. All right, so we're gonna mix this, scraping the bottom a bit more. I'm gonna turn the heat back up, but essentially this texture is about what we're going for. We're just gonna continue to reduce the moisture, but it's already started to form some chunks. And the more you cook this, the more it just kind of dries out a little bit and gets a little bit more compacted. And then it really resembles like ground meat. So the Pepita tacos, I think the closest like meat equivalent would be like Taco Time ground beef. But we're just gonna let this cook. Just gonna kind of spread it out. We're also still gonna add some black beans to this, but we wanna evaporate some more moisture before we add the black beans. The black beans are also gonna kind of make the color a bit more brown. So after we add those, it'll look a bit more like meat. Not that that's a big thing, but I just find if you're eating like brown taco meat, it's just seems a bit more familiar than if you're eating like green taco meat, and something just with your brain also, you're just like, oh, this is, I'm just eating tacos, you know, there's nothing different about it. But yeah, so we're just gonna let this kind of reduce the moisture and continue to cook just for about 5 more minutes. Our jackfruit tortilla soup is done, so we can release the pressure on that. Man, my brain is just not firing right now. All right, so I'm just gonna rinse our blender. We're gonna use this again for the roasted garlic crema. And then we just need to make the Spanish rice and the black beans, and then the roasted garlic sauce for the taco salad. So I forgot. We're gonna release the pressure on our pressure cooker. A little bit loud, but that's okay. All right, we're gonna be done with our blender for now. Just gonna clean up a little bit. All right, so next we're gonna make our black beans and Spanish rice. All right. So I got the heat turned up back on here. So this is just about ready for the black beans. That's when I keep scraping this. The reason you want to scrape the brown bits off the bottom is that's kind of what gives it texture. So the more of that you can get to go with the rest of the taco filling when you're scraping it, it'll just kind of enhance the texture and make it a bit more meaty. All right, but this is about the texture we're going for. I do just want a tiny bit more moisture to evaporate from here. But we're getting almost into like ground meat territory as far as the texture goes. All right. So I totally forgot to soak our rice for our Spanish rice. So we're gonna do that right now, just real quick. We're gonna do 2 cups of Spanish rice. Or sorry, 2 cups of white rice. This rice is actually the Missouri rice from Costco. It comes in the giant yellow bag. But yeah, you can get a 20-pound bag, I think, for $16, which is like 80 cents a pound. So by far the best deal I found on organic rice. The weird thing about this white rice is it takes 2 cups of water to cook 1 cup of rice, which I've never seen for any other type of white rice. Even like brown rice or red rice is like, I'll do like a cup and a half or a cup and 3/4. But this really benefits from 2 cups of water. If you soak it, you can use a little bit less. But we're just gonna put this in our bowl. And I am going to add just some hot water to soak it. We're going to soak it probably for about 10 minutes, and then I'm going to rinse it pretty thoroughly. With rice, you really want to soak it and rinse it because most rice that we get in the United States is contaminated with arsenic and sometimes other heavy metals like lead or cadmium. And if you soak it and then rinse it, it helps to pull out those contaminants, like especially the arsenic. So if you do eat rice, especially if you eat rice often, and very, very much, especially if you have kiddos and you make rice for them, you really should soak and rinse your rice every time. Arsenic has neurotoxic effects and is very bad for brain development. So if you're serving rice to kiddos, you really want to make sure that you soak and rinse that rice very, very thoroughly. But yeah, if you just Google arsenic and rice, it's pretty crazy. I think it's like maybe 2012. There's a study done on brown rice that showed that most of it is contaminated with arsenic. And organic rice is not really any better. So organic rice can also still be contaminated. So if you soak it and rinse it, it kind of prevents or just pulls out a lot of that arsenic. So all right, our taco filling is just about done. This pressure cooker is so loud. I'm gonna just release the pressure a little bit slower. There we go. Okay, so our taco filling, boom, looking a bit more meaty. I turned the heat up and then stuff started sticking to the bottom. I turned the heat back down just so stuff's not sticking. And as you notice, this is a pretty big batch. I like to make this recipe in very large batches. It partially because if you do it in large batches, you just don't have to cook it as often. And with this recipe, you can freeze it really well. So it freezes incredibly well. So if you just do a huge batch of this, you can freeze it, and then you can even freeze it just like in a few different portions and just take some out and eat it. But yeah, I'm gonna freeze a little bit of this, but we're also using it. We're using it for the tacos and the taco salad. So there is, I know we are gonna use quite a bit of it this week. I've got beans, so I'm gonna add some beans to here. We're gonna add about 4 cups of beans. And so I cooked 2.5 cups of black beans, just 2.5 cups of dried black beans. And so I've got a bunch of black beans. What I don't use for this, I'm gonna use for we're just gonna make seasoned black beans with the rest of it. It's technically already seasoned because I did put seasoning in there, so we could just leave it. But I think I am gonna just add a bit more seasoning, chop up some onion and stuff. But yeah, it's kind of up to you. If you just want to add all of it to this and just make all taco filling and use that as your beans, you're totally welcome to. Or if you don't want to cook the beans again, you don't want to add any more seasoning, you can just add extra seasoning when you cook them dry. Or if you use canned beans, you can essentially just use canned beans straight in here. So I've got the beans added. So this is our pepita and black bean taco filling. I'm keeping the beans on this side for now. The moisture from the beans is gonna break up some of this taco meat that has stuck to the bottom. So it's gonna help me scrape it off. And then I'm also gonna mash some of the beans. Just, it changes the texture. We want some of the beans to remain whole, and then we want some of them mashed because it basically will change the texture of the filling and makes it kind of more creamy. But yeah, once you've got some of the beans mashed, you can go ahead and mix that in with the taco filling. I might add a little bit more. And then I still haven't added the lemon juice or vinegar to this to balance out the acidity. So I still need to add that. And then once that's added, you essentially just want to balance out the flavor with any salt or lime juice or lemon juice. And then the roasted garlic, we actually can add a bit more of that in here too. So, but this is about what we're going for. At this point, the texture gets better as moisture reduces. So if you're gonna serve it like the same evening, you'll probably want to cook it a little bit more. But if you know you're gonna reheat this, you can kind of stop cooking here. And then what I like to do is I will reheat this in the oven and just the dry heat. And I heat it uncovered. It just kind of helps it improves the texture a little bit. It just makes it a little bit more meaty. The more this kind of can dry out, the better. And then, so yeah, we're just gonna add our acid. So we're gonna add some lemon juice or lime juice. I think we'll do lime juice. Oh, I also forgot to add my water to my rice. We can do that. So I got my rice right here. We're gonna go ahead and just add some hot water just to soak this for like 10 minutes before we cook it. All right. And then in here, we're going to add some lime juice. All right, so I think that was probably about a tablespoon of lime juice. I'm not exactly sure. I think we're probably going to need a little bit more than that. But now this is cooled a bit more. It's easy to scrape the bottom. All right. So once you've added the salt and the lime juice, which we added salt quite a bit earlier, you just want to taste it, and then you can adjust the salt and acid as needed. Mix my rice. All right, so here's our taco filling. Still looks like it's a little bit wet, but okay. Taste it. Oh my gosh, why is it always so good? Damn. It's like it could use a little bit more acid and a little bit more salt. And I haven't even added much of the garlic yet. So, man, it's so good. Yeah, the chipotle is coming through. It's funny, I'm like pretty sensitive to like smoked paprika and chipotle. I just think it's such a strong flavor, but it's just like it is nice. But you just want to make sure you don't get too much. But yeah, we used a little bit less than half a teaspoon, and I think that was the perfect amount. It's like I taste it, it's like nice and smoky, but it's not overpowering. But oh my god, this is so good. Seriously, this is my favorite taco filling ever. It's like the best. Even if you're not plant-based, like you will love this taco filling. It's so good. And it's super nutritious. It really is just like I think the best taco filling ever. But yeah, it's a pipita and black bean. You can also do it with hemp. This was one of our favorite, our most popular menu items from Celeste Cafe. And yeah, the only thing, it just needs a little bit more garlic, a little more salt, a little more acid, and then it could use a little bit less moisture. So I'm just going to sprinkle in salt, probably another half teaspoon. And then for the acid, I'm going to add a little bit of apple cider vinegar. That punches it up. And then we still need to slice our garlic. I've got a roasted garlic right here. I'm going to just rinse this. And add a little bit of this. So here's our garlic. So yeah, again, like I said before, we roasted it for 50 minutes at 375 degrees, and now we sliced it, and you can just squeeze all the garlic out right into the dish. And now is the appropriate time to add it, because you don't want to add it too early because it might risk burning. But yeah, as you see, it just totally just melts right into your dish, and then you can mix it around. And just a great way to add a ton of flavor. And then you just want to make sure everything gets very thoroughly mixed. We added our garlic, we added our salt, we added our acid. And now we just want to make sure everything gets very thoroughly mixed together so that all of those items get thoroughly distributed. right. Beautiful. All right, so we're done with this guy. So you can just stick this whole thing in the oven if you want to just reduce the heat a little bit more. I think I'm going to put this on a baking sheet. Actually might stick it in the oven. I actually don't think I need to bake anything else. So I'm going to put the oven on very low. We'll just say like 250. And then I'm going to transfer this to a baking sheet. And bake it. All right, and then I'm going to use this pan again for the rice pilaf, just because I feel like this is the perfect pan for rice pilaf or for Spanish rice. I said rice pilaf, which was actually not inaccurate. Spanish rice is a rice pilaf. Just going to transfer this to a baking sheet. This is done, but I prefer the texture a little bit when it's dried out a little bit more. So I'm just going to put it in the oven at like 250 degrees, just probably for like 10 minutes. So I can just kind of continue to reduce the moisture. All right, I'm just gonna wash this pan. And then we're gonna make our Spanish rice. All right, so here's our taco filling. I'm just gonna stick this in the oven, just so it can kind of dry out a little bit. And then I'm gonna wash this pan. See, what time is it? 2:43. Okay, 2:42. All right, so I'm just gonna wash this pan. So the taco filling does stick to the pan quite a bit. So like I said before, a non-stick pan makes it easy. But if you are trying to avoid random chemicals that are in most non-stick pans, this enameled cast iron works really well. It's a little bit harder to clean. You have to be careful. I have this like kind of plastic scraper sponge that works really well, but you don't want to use like a steel wool or something because that'll scrape it. And it's a cast iron pan with an enamel coating, so there's not really chemicals in it, but you also do want to avoid scraping the enamel because you definitely don't want that in your food. But compared to like a non-stick pan that uses like chemicals and stuff, the enameled cast iron I think is a much better option. So it's what I use, and I think they're pretty great. If you have a Dutch oven, especially like a Le Creuset, those are generally enameled cast iron, so you might already have some at your house. But I really like this pan, and it's kind of ideal for rice pilafs So we're going to use it for the Spanish rice. Normally, I would use just like 2 different pans. I'd probably even cook them at the same time. But since I want to use this pan, I'm just going to rinse it and clean it real quick. This is also where a dishwasher would come in handy. Someone to wash my dishes, not the machine. All right. Okay. Wow. Okay, so we're gonna do our rice pilaf right in the same pan. Because it's wide and it has a top that can go in the oven. This is an ideal pan for this. So we've got our onion already chopped, and I've got these seasoned black beans. I don't know. I might just go with them as they are. I might not add some more, but we'll see. I've already got the taco filling. Okay, so I'm gonna turn the pan on. I'm gonna set it to 5. So medium heat. I've got this already chopped. All right, that looks great. So yeah, you want to do about 1 small onion, maybe like 1.5 to 2 cups of onions in your pan. We're gonna heat that over medium heat. I'm gonna grab oil. So I kind of mentioned this before, but this handy dandy oil sprayer is pretty nice. It has a little lever. If you squeeze it, it just like sprays oil out of the front. And so yeah, just great. I just get light olive oil from Costco and refill it, and so it's much cheaper than buying like spray oil cans at the store. So just my little fun fact. I got that on Amazon. I don't have the link for it, but I can add it to the chat if you're interested. All right, and then so our rice we've got soaked. So we just soaked this in some hot water. Like I said before, you always want to soak and rinse your rice to reduce arsenic and any other potential contaminants. We soak this for about 10 minutes. And now we're just going to rinse it. So yeah, if you've ever bought this rice from Costco, it's the one in the yellow bag that comes in a 20-pound bag, and it's like $16, so it's like 80 cents per pound. But this rice is kind of tricky. It actually took me like a year to figure out how to cook it, even though it says on the package. I don't know if I read it and didn't believe it or just completely ignored the instructions. But this is white rice, but it requires 2 cups of water for every 1 cup of rice to cook it. So it's abnormal in that respect. I feel like I've never had white rice that took more than 1.25 cups to cook. Maybe 1.5 cups if you got like basmati, but yeah, so this is the Masuri rice. I actually prefer to cook this in the pressure cooker. Not for Spanish rice, but just for the rice by itself. All right, so we got that rinsed. I'm just gonna leave that in the bowl so it can continue to drain a little bit. But yeah, I prefer to cook millet and that Masuri rice in the pressure cooker, just on the rice function. But it's my personal little preference. Okay, so we got our onions sauteing here. Next, we're gonna chop some peppers to go in here. We're making Spanish rice or Mexican rice. It has salsa in it, so I think that would be more like Mexican rice. But whenever I look at pictures of Mexican rice on the internet, it is usually just like rice that has tomato paste in it, so it's like orange. So I don't know if this is Spanish rice or Mexican rice, but it's delicious. So I guess it doesn't really matter. That's really what's important, right? Okay, so I've got my stuff sauteing. Like probably mix that. This camera wants to be wobbly. I'm not sure why. Come on, guys. Okay, good enough. Let me put my rice away. rice away. Why does that sound like a product? Yeah. All right, sauteing our onions. Getting a little bit of color on them. Not necessarily what we want, but it's probably fine. All right, we got our jalapeno. We're going to slice this. I have some beautiful habaneros, and I'm like tempted to add them to the rice, but it would just make it super spicy. I feel like rice is like not really something you want to be super spicy. But maybe that's just me. We're just gonna slice our jalapeno. Gonna get this in here. Boom, beautiful. That garlic on the knife. Ooh, we got cauliflower. We're gonna add some of this because why not? We got it. You might as well use it. It's so beautiful too. Look at that. Oh, I need to put some carrots in here too. Oh, yeah. So we really just want the florets. So boom, look at that. How easy was that? Now we're gonna peel some carrots. Right. One more. So yeah, one of my pro tips for cooking in general is have a really good vegetable peeler. It'll save you a lot of headaches. Another tip is keep water nearby when you're sauteing stuff. In case things get too hot, you can just pour a little water in the pan like that and cool things down. So you don't really want your onions to blacken or brown too much. A little bit is cool. It adds a little bit of nice kind of caramelized onion flavor, but you just don't want it to go too far. So adding a little bit of water will essentially take the temperature down to like 200 degrees. Water boils at 212 degrees, so you know if there's water in your pan that your pan's not over 212 degrees. So just my little tip for sauteing. All right. These, since it's for rice pilaf, we kind of want these cut into smaller pieces. So I'm going to take these slices. Ooh. Don't do that at home, kids. All right. So we got our carrots and purple cauliflower chopped. That's going to go in our pan. Nice and beautiful. Yeah, I forgot my parsley. All right, folks. Ooh, got some frozen cilantro. That's no bueno. Frozen parsley too. That's no bueno either. All right. So I usually use curly parsley, but curly or Italian doesn't really matter. To me, parsley, very similar to like coriander and thyme, add a background savory flavor that's nice in most savory dishes. So I think just parsley is, yeah, a pretty safe thing to add to most savory dishes. Just adds a nice flavor, especially when it's cooked. It's like it's pretty subtle. You don't really notice. You're not like, oh yeah, that parsley is really standing out in there. It's really making this dish. Although if it's raw, it will kind of stand out. So it's a little soapy. All right, with these, the parsley, you just want to bunch it together, and you really just want to cut the leaves. The stems are bitter, so if you just get the leaves, you can kind of just bunch them up, roll them up like this, and then just slice like that. And then that can go right in there. So we're making this Spanish rice. This is a rice pilaf. We're gonna add some coriander, some thyme, some oregano, some onion powder, some garlic powder, and a bay leaf. Oh yeah, let me get my peppers in here too. So we got our red bell pepper. Let's slice that. We've also got some red jalapenos that we can add as well, that I'm pretty stoked about. It is going into pepper season right now, so if you have a grocery store that supplies local stuff, you can probably get some nice peppers. I've actually got these beautiful red habaneros I'm super excited about, but I'm not going to add them to this because I don't really want this rice to be too spicy. But I do love the flavor of habaneros. It's just super fruity. Very nice. All right, so we've got our veggies in here. We're going to add our seasonings now. So we'll grab our coriander. We're going to do 1 teaspoon of ground coriander. And again, we're going to get that right on the bottom of the pan. You know? So whenever I'm adding coriander, I like to just kind of move some space on the bottom of the pan and then put the coriander right on the bottom so it gets a little bit toasted. We're going to add some thyme. We'll do about 1.5 teaspoons of that. We're going to do onion powder. I'm going to do a heaping teaspoon of that. We'll do some oregano. Do about 1 teaspoon of that as well. Garlic powder. I'm going to do a heaping teaspoon, and then that I'm going to move around just so it doesn't turn into some giant clump. As you see, it just kind of clumps up super easy. As soon as moisture hits it, just turns to this giant clumpy mess. So just one thing to be aware of. All right, next I'm just going to add some carrots. Oh, I know, I already got some carrot in there, but we're going to add a little bit more. And then we can add some of those Jimmy Nardello peppers and the red jalapenos too. It's funny, normally I feel like I'd be trying to get this done really fast, but I'm just like, ooh, let's add this, let's add this, let's add that. All right, looks like we're burning a little bit. Add a little bit of water, cool things down. Add a little bit of Nardello. All right, and then where are those jalapenos? Got these red jalapenos. All right, so we're just gonna dice this guy. That in there. All right, so we're gonna mix all of this. We're ready to add our rice. It's a little bit wet in here because I just added the water. I'm gonna try to deglaze the pan a bit by adding the steamy vegetables over it, and then just kind of scraping it. Cool. All right, so I'm gonna scrape everything off to one side, and then I'm gonna spray some of our oil on here. Next, we're gonna add our rice. Oops. Spilled a little bit. We're gonna add our rice right on the oil. We're gonna let this kind of fry a little bit. Move this around with the rice. Out. Cool, now we're gonna mix everything. We haven't added any salt. I'm gonna go ahead and add some salt. We're gonna do just 1 teaspoon of salt. We haven't added any salt to this yet. And there's no salt in our vegetable broth. So all the salt is what we're just adding now. There's probably a little bit of salt in this salsa that we're gonna add. Just gonna do about a cup of salsa, so about half of the jar. Just want to make sure this gets thoroughly mixed. And now we can add our water. Actually, our broth. So we're gonna add 4 cups of vegetable broth. And this is homemade, unsalted vegetable broth. If you use pre-made vegetable broth from the store, you'll probably just want to reduce the amount of salt you add. And then you're essentially adding liquid to cook the rice. So depending on what kind of rice you use, the amount of liquid will differ. This particular type of rice takes 2 cups per 1 cup of rice, 2 cups of water per 1 cup of rice. So we're adding 4 cups of broth for 2 cups of rice. There is some liquid in the salsa, but we also added some veggies. And then just with the way the pilaf cooks, I find it needs a little bit extra water or liquid. So once the liquid's in there, you just want to go ahead and scrape the bottom or like dislodge anything from the bottom just so that nothing's sticking. Once this comes to a boil, we're not going to mix it at all. So when you get the liquid in there, you just want to go through, scrape all of the bottom, just kind of run your spatula or spoon along the bottom of the pan, make sure there's nothing that's stuck. So we added the rice when there was just oil, and so sometimes the rice will be sticking, sometimes there's onions or something else that's sticking. You just want to make sure that there's nothing sticking because it will burn. And then we're also going to put this in the oven. So I've got the oven on 250 to just kind of dehydrate the taco filling a little bit. I'm going to turn it off. I'm going to set the temperature to 350 350, actually 375. And once this comes to a boil, we're going to add the top and we're going to stick this in the oven. So rice pilaf, I think just for the best results, I think it's best to cook it in the oven. So once this comes to a simmer and starts to bubble, I'm just going to add the top. We're going to stick this whole thing in the oven. It's going to cook for about 35 to 40 minutes. Really depends on the type of rice you're using. If you're using just like plain white rice, probably about 30 minutes is all you need. And then once you take it out of the oven, it's about 15 minutes to rest. If you're using red rice or brown rice or black rice or like this Missouri rice, it's probably going to be about 35 to 40 minutes. So we've got this. It's starting to bubble. I'm going to grab the top. And then we're going to get this in the oven. And then we've got pretty much all of our components made. I think I might just skip the extra step on the beans and just go with them as they are. And yeah, we're getting close to being done. All right, so top goes on here. So let me grab what's in the oven out first. All right, so y'all can see this. This is our taco filling. Just came out of the oven, so it's nice. Yeah, it kind of got more brown. Looks, the texture's a little bit, really, a little bit more meaty. So yeah, this is great. So this we can just cool, and this is ready to make tacos with, or to, once it's cool, we can add it to the taco salad. So I'm gonna go stick this on the table. And then this is ready for the oven. So again, I like to do this in an oven-safe dish. I think these like Dutch ovens or these enameled cast irons are perfect. And we're just gonna bake this for about 40 minutes, say 35. All right. That is hot. Okay, so our jackfruit tortilla soup is done. So we can take a look at this now. Clear some space. And this we're just gonna add some broccoli to. All right, so we got our pressure cooker. Remove the lid. All right. Oh yeah, we also did not add any salt to this yet. So before I mix it and taste it, I'm gonna add a little bit of salt. So I'm just gonna go 1 teaspoon of salt. I'm certain we're gonna want more than that, but just to start, we'll go with that. And then we're also gonna add our broccoli. So I'm gonna chop just some florets. All right. So yeah, you just want bite-sized pieces of broccoli. And these will just go right in the soup. You want to add them after the soup is simmered or pressure cooked, because if you add them earlier, they will turn brown and will just be totally mushy. Which I actually don't really mind if they're like mushy, if they're not crisp, but color wise, it's just much better If you add them later, they just stay really nice and green and vibrant. So little pieces like this are kind of ideal. If they're bigger than that, you just want to break them up or chop them. And then we can also add some broccoli to the rice pilaf in the same way. Just once it comes out of the oven, you can add some broccoli florets and then just toss them with the rice. Okay, so we got our broccoli in there. Let's see, I'm just gonna grab a spoon. Yeah, you're gonna see. All right, so our purple cauliflower is kind of pink now. Got our jackfruit. And again, corn is a really nice ingredient to add to this if you eat corn. But here's our tortilla soup. Oh, I don't have any jackfruit on there. All right. And I did add spicy peppers, so it's probably going to be very spicy. It's also usually way spicier right when you make it, and it is way spicier when it's hot. So when it's hot, right when you make it, it's super spicy. Mm. Jackfruit is a nice texture. It is very spicy. So spicy tortilla soup is living up to its name. Mm. Hmm. Yeah, incredible flavor. It just needs more salt. But yeah, this is such a fun soup. It's also there's like no fat in it. So I mean I guess I added oil to saute the veggies, but you can make it fat free and then yeah, it's just like super good. It's like very it's like a vegetable soup, you know. Mm. Mm. Yeah, potato, definitely a winner. Okay, so it just needs more salt. I'm gonna add another teaspoon of salt and then mix it, and then I'm just gonna let it sit for a little while. Beautiful. And then yeah, so you can serve this just with some tortilla strips or just like tortilla chips are actually perfect. Just put the tortilla strips or chips in the bottom of a bowl and then pour the soup on top of it and then serve it with some additional chips. But yeah, also this freezes really well. So I guess the potatoes are a little questionable. It's like when you freeze potatoes and rethaw them, they can be a little grainy. But if you use corn instead of potatoes in here, then you don't have a problem. So, yeah, that's the jackfruit tortilla soup. We're just gonna let this cool, and then we can package it up. We've got the beans that I made in the pressure cooker. I'm still gonna see. I might saute some onions and add some stuff to there, but I might just skip it. I still need to make salsa and the roasted garlic sauce, so we're gonna do that now. Salsa is pretty easy. What I do, I will show you, is we're just gonna heat a pan and then we're gonna just heat some tomatoes in that pan and let them cook. Not they're not gonna fully cook. You just want to like blister the skin and make it like black. And then you can throw everything in a blender with some onions and cilantro and some lime juice or lemon juice, and then you got salsa. So this is a little bit easier than making pico de gallo, which you're chopping everything, which I also make pretty often. But recently, I've just been making salsa because it's a lot quicker. It's like technically takes more time because you heat the tomatoes, but it's all hands off. You know, you just blister the tomatoes, then throw everything in the blender and blend it, and then you're done. So we're making salsa. I like to use heirloom tomatoes. It just makes the salsa a little colorful. Sometimes it makes it a weird color, so just kind of got to be aware. I like the yellow ones, and then the kind of deep reddish green ones are probably my favorite heirloom tomatoes to use. I actually learned just how to make salsa like this from Chef Reese, my friend Reese Nunnally. It's actually, I think he's opening a new spot in Seattle like this week. Oh yeah, shout out to Reese if you ever see this. But yeah, so if you don't heat the tomatoes and you make salsa, it just won't get the color, and then the flavor won't be as deep. So what you're gonna do is just slice tomatoes in half, like I've just done, and then you're gonna put them in a pan like this. And basically, you're just gonna keep the skin side down, and the pan you're going to heat to medium heat, and then that's going to allow this to blacken a bit, and you just want a little bit of color on there. You don't need to cook the tomatoes too much. You just want them to get a little bit blackened. So we got those there. Hoo-ha. Boom. All right, and we already got our tomato or our onion cut. So I'm going to rinse my cutting board. All right, so we got our tomatoes going for our salsa. And now we're going to make our roasted garlic crema, which I'm very excited about. So we got 2 cups of cashews right here that we soaked. And we're just going to rinse these, and we're going to blend them with water and lime and roasted garlic and salt. And that's it. And it makes a really delicious garlic sauce. So let me move some of this stuff. All right. And this garlic sauce, I make a version of this pretty much every week. I guess this or a dressing, which they're pretty similar. Originally, when I was making dressings, I used oil, but I've since kind of started making them oil-free, or mostly oil-free. I guess I do sometimes add a little bit of extra virgin olive oil, mainly for the flavor, but it does add some lusciousness as well. I'm gonna go, let's see, stick this over here. Got our garlic for our garlic sauce that we're gonna make right now. I think we're done with the oregano, done with the cumin. Oh yeah, and then we can make pickled onions. I forgot about as well. But I'm definitely gonna want those this week. So. All right. Okay, so we're gonna make our roasted garlic sauce right now. Let's see. Watch our onions kind of blister as we make our garlic sauce. So this garlic sauce is a very simple recipe. I call it roasted garlic cashew crema. It is roasted garlic and cashews blended with water and lemon and salt. So I've got the cashews right here. So these have been soaked, and I'm now rinsing them. Cashews actually contain phytic acid, which can cause inflammation. So if you are prone to inflammation or have noticed you are sensitive to cashews, if you soak and rinse them It will reduce the amount of phytic acid and tannins that are present in the cashews, and also kind of start the sprouting process, which unlocks some of the nutrients and makes everything just easier to digest and um, better. So, all right, tomatoes are getting some nice color on them. So you can probably just turn this off. So we've got our cashews right here. So cashews in here, we're gonna do roasted garlic. So I'm just gonna rinse this real quick. It's already cooled, but rinsing it will prevent the skin from sticking. And I will show you how I slice these, which I think I already showed you, but I might as well do it again. So I stick this on the cutting board, just on its side, and then use the knife and use a sawing motion. Let the weight of the knife do the work. It helps if you have a very sharp knife. My knife's not super sharp right now, so you just mainly don't want to press too much with the knife or you'll end up squishing it. And then once it's sliced, you can just squeeze all the garlic out. So this bulb was roasted in the oven at 375 degrees for 1 hour. So we're just going to squeeze all of this into our blender. All right, there we go. Sorry, hard to see. So we got our garlic. We're just going to squeeze this into the blender with our cashews. And we are making a double batch of the roasted garlic sauce because we're using it as a salad dressing for the taco salad and as our crema for the tacos. All right, so that was one bulb. Here's another half of a mini bulb. Just gonna rinse this one real quick, and then we're gonna slice it again, just like the other one. And then we'll squeeze it all out. And then I'm gonna save the rest of the garlic. I'm actually gonna squeeze the rest of it, I think, into the beans. Instead of cooking them again, I'm just gonna do that. I'll just do that right now. So we've got our beans. I already seasoned these when I cooked them in the pressure cooker, and I was gonna season them further and add some extra garlic, onions, and peppers, but I'm just gonna squeeze extra garlic in here and just make these beans extra garlicky and call it a day. Just save some time. I'm always about saving time in the kitchen. But if you do want to make them, or if you're using canned beans and you don't have the ability to season them when you do the first cook, then you'll want to just make the beans as they're kind of listed on the recipe. Basically similar to the rice pilaf that we did, but instead of adding rice, you add beans. And we do add cumin in that. So so this is our lime garlic crema. I'm actually going to add some lemon zest to this. Sometimes I do lime zest. I think I will add a little bit, but I find lemon zest, just the flavor is a little bit better. If you have one of these serrated peelers, the only thing they're really good for is zesting stuff. So just want to be careful. They can be a bit dangerous. All right. So yeah, if you have one of these serrated peelers and you think they just suck, they do, but they are really good for zesting. So if you just use it for zesting, they're awesome. But if you're trying to peel stuff with it, they're terrible. So I didn't know that for a long time, and I was just like, why would anyone have a serrated peeler? But now I'm like, oh, this is actually the best tool for zesting. It's also much easier to zest stuff before you juice it, but here we are. So yeah, the lemon zest I think really adds a very nice flavor. Apparently also most of the antioxidants and nutrients in the lemon are in the zest. So also good for that reason. So we've got this. We're just gonna get lots of zest in there. We want it really zesty. I'm gonna slice this. A little more garlic. And then here's our handy dandy juicer. All right. All right, if you get lemon seeds in there, it's extra vitamin E, which is good for your hair and skin. Okay, so now we're gonna add salt. So we're gonna add about 1.5 teaspoons of salt. And then about 1.5 cups of water. I think I'll just use this guy. All right, I'm also gonna add a tiny bit of thyme just for some added flavor. Okay, so we're gonna stick the top on this and blend it up. This is gonna blend for about 45 seconds. You just want it to be super smooth and creamy. If you've got a Vitamix, then yeah, about 30 to 45 seconds is all you need. Garlicky beans, pretty good. All right, so here's our luscious, creamy crema. Oh my God, that's so good. Holy cow. Oh my goodness. Man, I make this all the time. I've been making this like every week for like 5 years, and it still blows my mind how good it is. I'm like, how have I not made this into a product and sold it all over the world? All right, so our cashew crema, we're gonna put some in a squeeze bottle, which just makes it super easy to distribute for making tacos or for the taco salad or really whatever. And then we'll put the rest in a jar. So yeah, this cashew crema, I mean, I've put this recipe, I think, in just about all of my cookbooks, except for Pepita Power. I have a Pepita version of it. But yeah, it's just so good. It's just such a great sauce. You can literally just dip vegetables or like roasted vegetables or tofu or whatever protein in it and eat it, and it's delicious. So it's my gift to you. Roasted garlic cashew crema. All right. Okay. So I think now we just need to make our salsa and then wait till our pilaf is finished. And we're done. All right, so I'm just gonna transfer the cashew crema into here. Oh, look at that. Do I have a spatula? I don't know if I had a spatula. Oh well, okay. So got our crema. So creamy, so luscious, so delicious, so garlicky. But yeah, this is way better than sour cream. It's like, even if you're not plant-based and you eat dairy, I feel like this is like the best crema for tacos. It's so good. And cashews, yeah, are just super versatile. It's not the same as dairy, but in some ways it's better. So, really, like every chef should learn this recipe. Yeah, and it's just like you can put it on anything. Put it on vegetables, put it on tacos. If you're eating something that's not very flavorful, you can put this on it, and then boom, it's flavorful and delicious. So sometimes I'll literally just take this sauce with me if I'm not sure how the food's gonna be, especially if it's not like gluten free and vegan friendly. All right, so we're just gonna rinse this. I'm gonna use the blender again for the salsa. If you're making guacamole instead of salsa, you could just leave the crema in there, and it would just add some creaminess to your guacamole. All right, so yeah, here's the crema. Very awesome and delicious. It's funny. It reminds me, so I was at the school. I teach cooking classes to like the preschoolers. But I was teaching, doing a cooking demo with the preschoolers the other day, and I was like talking about vegetables. I was like sharing my 3 secrets to make vegetables delicious, and this kiddo was like, we were talking about broccoli, and the kiddo was like, broccoli is yummy and delicious, and I'm just like, okay, like man, like the kids really love vegetables, and we do. Oh, thank you. Where where it lives, Charmander. Squirtle versus Charmander. Thank you. I love you too. You're so sweet. All right, so yeah, but yeah, I do cooking classes with the kiddos, and they love vegetables. Like if you make vegetables delicious and you make it fun, kiddos will eat it and they'll be super happy about it. So I've got our tomatoes; they're nice and blackened. We're gonna get those in here. Nice color. I'm actually gonna peel off the skin. All right. Got our tomatoes sticking to the pan a little bit. And they're hot. Okay. So we got our tomato. We're going to add some onions. We got our chopped onion. Going to go in here. Now we just need our cilantro. Cilantro, apart from being delicious, is also really good for detoxing heavy metals from your body. So I try to eat as much cilantro as I can. All right, cilantro, you just want to roll it. We're just going to throw, this is probably a little bit too much for the salsa, but it'll be fine. And throw that whole thing in there. We're going to do some lime juice and some lemon juice. So yeah, with salsa, it's very simple. You just roast the oven, tomatoes. You can roast them in the oven or just in a pan like I did. You just want to kind of blacken the skin a little bit. And then just mix it with some onion and some cilantro in the blender, which I'm also going to add some jalapeno. Actually, I'm going to add a tiny bit of habanero. Don't tell anybody. Not the pith or the seeds, just a little bit. Because it's so fruity. Habanero is so good. I'm actually going to eat a little bit. But yeah, the red habanero. It's so fruity. Oh my god. And it's so spicy. Oh my god. Holy cow. Oh man, that was a bad idea. Oh god. Oh, it's so good though. I'm like, please, why would you do that? But at the same time, I'm like, oh, I want more. See, I think the garlic crema will help mitigate the spiciness, but oh my god, that's so spicy. And it's so fruity and it's so good. Oh my god, that salsa or the crema, so good. Delicious. Okay, what am I doing? Whew. Okay, jalapeno. I know I've got some red jalapeno. Seriously, it's funny. I swear, like spicy peppers like that are like drugs. Like that was so intense, but now I like feel so good. I'm like, I just got like a little buzz off that pepper. It's like so funny, and it's actually a thing. Like there's a feel good compound in peppers that makes you feel happy. And actually, if you roast a bunch of peppers, it can make everybody laugh. Which I have experienced when I had a restaurant. I was sauteing, I think I was making taco filling, and I had a bunch of peppers, and it just like got airborne, and everyone started like coughing and choking from the spice. And then like 10 minutes later, everybody in the restaurant was laughing, and it was kind of hilarious. I mean, literally hilarious. But it's a thing where you like just get super happy and laughy and giggly. So if you didn't know, now you know. Okay, so we're gonna blend this. I think with the tomatoes in there, we're not gonna need any liquid. I did, I guess, add a little bit of lemon juice, but if you put the tomatoes in the bottom, you shouldn't need to add any more liquid to the salsa. And then also how much you blend it is totally up to you. If you want it more chunky, just like keep the speed really low and then just let it blend for a couple minutes or like 30 seconds. If you want it to be very like a thinner, more pureed consistency, you can turn up the speed and blend it a little bit more. So, all right, we've got our salsa. Let's taste it. Oh, I think I forgot to add salt, but we'll find out. Oh, I forgot about the spicy peppers in there too. Delicious. Totally forgot to add salt, but still really good flavor. All right, man, that's so good. And the spice didn't knock me in the face. We're gonna do about 2/3 of a teaspoon of salt in there. That's quite a bit of tomato. Jeez, so no higher speed than I was expecting. Okay. Oh my god, so yummy. Okay, I think it needs a little bit more lemon juice and a tiny bit more salt. It's a lot of seeds. So we'll do the other third of the teaspoon. So we ended up with 1 teaspoon of salt. Okay, I think we're there. All right, that's yummy. Okay. All right, so our rice pilaf should be just about done. Ooh. A little bit extra salsa. It's a little too full. Perfect. Right, so we've got our taco filling done. We got our rice pilaf done. Oh, we need to do the salad, but we've got our salsa and crema done. So put the blender away. And then for the salad, a lot of times I'll do just romaine for the taco salad, or a mixture of romaine and iceberg. But I have this whole head of cabbage left over from this week. Right here. So I'm going to use some of this along with our romaine. And I've also got some purple cabbage. And for the sake of time, just to make things super quick, I'm just going to shred this all in the food processor. Just makes things much quicker and easier. All right, so we got a few layers off of this guy. All right, so I'm gonna grab my food processor. I've got 2 attachments that I'm gonna use. First, I think we'll do the carrots. So I'm just gonna grate a carrot in here. And for that, I've got this grating attachment on my food processor, kind of like a box grater. It's just got those holes. And then also got a shredding attachment for the cabbage. So yeah, food processors can be a little dangerous. Just gotta know what you're doing. Gotta be careful. All right, so we're gonna grab a carrot. I'm just gonna peel this. And then we're just gonna pass it through the food processor. And then I've also got some cabbage. Got some red and some green cabbage. So yeah, so these you just want to peel, chop the top and the bottom off, and turn this guy on. And then we're just going to grate it. All right, now I can switch the attachments. I'm not sure where my little pushy thingy went. All right, so we got our carrot grated in there. I threw in a little bit of daikon radish as well. So that's the white in there. Now I'm going to change attachments to this shredding attachment. If you can get one that's thinner than this, that's actually better, but it'll be fine. Stick that back on here. And then we need to cut the cabbage. So we got this one that's already kind of cut. One good thing about cabbage is it'll last in your fridge for a while. But just with any food in general, fresher is better. So generally when you're buying produce, you want to buy it as close to when you're going to use it as possible. All right, so we got that on there. This thing's kind of tricky when you're shredding cabbage. This thing needs to be pushed down, this little safety thing. So you kind of got to put it in there and then push it down. While it's going. There we go. That's great. All right, so we got some green cabbage and some red cabbage. Check our rice pilaf. Yep, looks like our rice pilaf is just about done. It's pretty awesome. All right, I'm gonna use about half of this head of green cabbage. And we're probably gonna use about a quarter of a head of red cabbage. And we also need to cut this so that it'll fit in the food processor. With red cabbage, you really want to cut it as thin as possible. So I'm cutting it so that it'll fit in through the little chute. And I'm hoping it just goes slowly. Okay. All right. All right, so I'm just gonna see if I can kind of jam this in here. Perfect. All right, just need a tiny bit more of this. All right, and that's it. So much quicker to just use the food processor to shred all this than to try to shred it by hand. And then we've also got some romaine lettuce for our taco salad as well. All right, and then we've also got lettuce that we're using as taco shells. Separate these. So when I make tacos, I like to just use these lettuce leaves as taco shells. So we've got some corn tortillas, but we're also just going to use these. And one benefit about using these lettuce leaves is if you make a taco with the lettuce and just make it cold with the cold filling and the salsa and everything, you can just pre-make it and then leave it in the fridge or take it with you. And then it's actually pretty good cold. So I'm normally not someone who eats hot food cold, or food that's supposed to be hot when it's cold. But these tacos are one of those dishes where I'm like, yeah, this is still really good. It's cold. So we're just gonna separate these leaves and then we'll chop the rest for our salad. But yeah, it's kind of cool with the romaine lettuce. You can just use the big leaves as taco shells or wraps, and then the smaller ones are like perfect for chopping into salad. So 1, 2. Oh yeah, yeah. These are ideal for salad. Okay. So I actually need to grab our what's it called? Rice pilaf, our Spanish rice from the oven because it is ready. But this, we're just gonna roughly chop this. I like to do just like kind of 2-inch pieces. And then we'll mix this with the shredded cabbage for our taco salad. And then we're gonna leave the filling, the taco filling and the pico and the dressing separate. So we got all this chopped up. Let's see. I like I always have too much of the salad ingredients. All right, I'm just gonna stick a glove on. And we're gonna mix the salad, and I think that's it. And then we just need to grab the what's it called? The tortilla soup. Cool. All right. So we're just gonna kind of toss this together. The cabbage, apart from being super nutritious, also just lasts pretty good in the fridge. So it'll stay fresh for about 4 or 5 days, especially if it's not too wet. And then romaine is also one of the hardier lettuces that will also stay good for a few days. If you do this with like spring mix, it's just after a couple days things start to get slimy. So kind of ideal to use like a hardier lettuce like romaine and then cabbage. Cool. So yeah, this is already super colorful. And then yeah, you can really add whatever you want to this. I'm gonna chop a little bit of parsley and some cilantro. But yeah, if you want to do radishes, those are really nice. More peppers. I guess we got that Jimmy Nardello pepper over here. Bring that out. Get some parsley. That in there. Get a tiny bit of cilantro as well. All right, slice up our peppers. And there we go. So here's our salad. So I'm just going to put this into a couple different meal prep containers, and then we can add our taco filling and pico when we're ready to eat it. Awesome. All right. Okay, one more thing. Maybe our last thing that we're going to make. Oops. Right. All right, so yeah, got everything done. We're just gonna make our quick pickled onions just because I really want to make those. All right, so this recipe is super easy and quick. You just slice some onions and some peppers. So I'm gonna grab my little mini mandolin to slice the onions. You got it right here. And then you can really do whatever vegetables you want. In this, I'm just going to do some onions and peppers. But if you want to make other kinds of pickles, it's the same recipe. So I'm going to grab my little mini mandolin from my chef's bag. So I can slice up these onions. And this little mini mandolin is super awesome. It comes in so handy. I got it at Daiso. Actually bought a few of them over the years. What is going on here? stove is being weird. Okay. All right. So yeah, I got these little mini mandolins. These I get at Daiso. Super nice. Awesome for pickles. It cuts things the perfect thickness. So got this red onion. And I think we'll probably just need half of it. I am going to slice this on the mandolin and we'll stick it in a jar with some pickling liquid that we're going to make. I think my rice pilaf is done, so we're going to take that out. I think I should have taken it out there like 10 minutes ago, but sure it'll be fine. Oh, that's hot. Beautiful. All right, so here's our Spanish rice is done. So I'm just going to let this sit for about 10 minutes or 15 minutes before I fluff it. But yeah, looks great. So for the pickles, just show you real quick. I really think a mandolin is the way to go for this. You can use a full-size one, but the mini one works perfectly and it keeps everything the same size. So you just kind of slice it like that. And yeah, see, this is why I love this little mandolin. These nice slices. Just want to be careful. I don't think I've ever sliced with myself with this, but these just mandolins in general can be kind of dangerous. So you want to be careful. When it gets to about that, you want to stop slicing on the mandolin just because it gets a little dangerous and it starts to fall apart. So you just want to use your knife to slice the rest of it. All right, beautiful. So we've got our onions right here. These are going to go in here. Before I put them in here, I'm going to put them with this habanero, aka habanero. So this is going to add spice to the onions. So after about 2 days, the spice will be transferred from here and kind of absorb into the onions. And if you want it super spicy, you can add this part. I actually do want it super spicy, but I'm going to add 2 peppers. So we're going to stick those in the jar. I'm going to grab 1 more pepper. Also got an orange habanero. So it smells so fruity and so spicy. It's crazy. All right, so both of those in there. We're going to add our onions in there. Boop, boop. And then we're just going to add a little bit of salt. When I say a little bit, I mean a teaspoon. Whoops. Looks like we got some room. We can put some more vegetables in here. Actually, yeah, I think I'm going to do a little bit of this red pepper. Slice it in on the mandolin. All right, that's not working that well. So just use my knife. All right, so yeah, I'm gonna break that up. Beautiful. All right, so we're gonna add a teaspoon of salt. And just a little bit of thyme. Sprinkle. And then we're going to add equal parts water and vinegar. A tiny bit of onion powder too. All right. We're going to fill it halfway with vinegar and then the rest of the way with water. Boom. All right, and there we go. So here's our quick pickles. So these just need to sit for at least 30 minutes. If you want to shake the jar to make sure the salt gets thoroughly distributed and dissolved, that's a good idea. And then it'll take at least 24 hours for the spice to kind of migrate from the habanero to the peppers and onions, but that will definitely happen. Awesome. So we are done. All right. Well, that is everything we needed to do. So now it's just packaging stuff. Just waiting on the rice pilaf to finish cooling before I fluff it. But yeah, we've got the pilaf, we've got our seasoned beans, we've got our veggie taco salad, and our taco filling, along with our salsa, our roasted garlic crema for the tacos, and the pickled onions we just made. And the lettuce leaves. So yeah, we got everything for our tacos. Those we are just gonna build when we eat them. I think we'll probably have some tonight. But yeah, that's everything. So yeah, I'm gonna post this video. I'm not sure when I'm gonna get to edit it, but yeah, and we will have the dishes. But yeah, check my Instagram and Facebook for the finished pictures of the meals that we made today. So I'm gonna finish packaging everything up and then post some photos. But thank you so much for joining me. I hope this was helpful. If you wanted to learn the Pepita taco meat recipe, that is just one of my recipes that I developed myself that you're probably not gonna learn anywhere else. And I think it's just the best vegan taco recipe that exists. So yeah, thanks again for joining me. If you have any questions, let me know. Just send me a message or shoot me an email or just post a comment. All right, stay fresh. I'll see you next time. Peace.